as a kid, what I remember is that, they were just bad people, period.
There was always that great fear that we were going to get bombed, and they have tornado drills in Kansas, but back when I went to grade school, we had to get underneath our desk, and they said cover up your head and all that for a nuclear explosion. Well, obviously, there wouldn't have been a need for that.
We was always scared of the Russians, or the commies is what everybody called them, that, we always thought that they was going to start World War III.
The first thing that comes to mind is, of course, when the Cuban Missile Crisis started, was the idea that people kind of panicked. People went into the grocery stores, bought up anything and everything, specifically canned goods. A lot of the people in my hometown felt that this was not a happy time, kind of scary for everybody.
This incredible fear of the Russians, we almost didn't see them as people. They were kind of like aliens from another planet, and their whole purpose and intent in life was to destroy us in the American way. So as a kid, what I remember is that, they were just bad people. And of course, that's the same impression they had of us as well, now that we know. They thought that we were for sure going to bomb them. They were absolutely positive.
There's some people that really believed in the nuclear fallout, that they would actually put underground vaults, storm shelters, basically. I know a lot of people that did that because they were scared that if we had a nuclear fallout, that we'd be underground for X amount of months or years or whatever.
And then we had our little trips that the elementary took at the end of the year, and some kids went to zoos and things like that. We went to bomb shelters, and they said, now if there's a nuclear war, this is where you'd stay. And they gave us some crackers and some rations to eat, and we never really thought a whole lot about it. There wasn't that great deal of fear, but it was always out there, and so you learn to hate the Russians from the very earliest in your life.
There was propaganda always. We was always against Russia or China. But when I was very young, I experienced being scared to understanding what the situation was, to being able to deal with world conflicts, or at least understand it, where you could at least make rational decisions.
The biggest thing was Vietnam, not so much the Soviet Union, but it was the Chinese, the Red Chinese that were involved, and their backing, of course, the Soviet Union, as well as the Chinese backing of the Ho Chi Minh, and how much they supported what was going on over there. My brother was also in the military at the time in Vietnam. He saw a lot of action. He was awarded on 4 different occasions a Bronze Star, Valor, and Leadership, and so on. He also was given a Purple Heart, and he was one of the first to go into what they referred to as the fish hook, which was when the United States went into Cambodia, supposedly to stop the Ho Chi Minh Trail that was coming down through Cambodia from the north. He was very fortunate. He came home from Vietnam. He was wounded once. He received shrapnel in the side of him. It was, as he described it, about the size of a large Zippo lighter. When he came home, it was still in him, and they took it out when he was stationed up in Alaska for the last 5 months he was in the military.
My first experience, and from the military perspective, is our family got stationed in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba from 1963 until 1967. I was just a little guy then. But I remember playing in the field across from our house, and of course they had foxholes and defensive positions all put in. We would practice evacuating the island once a month. So my mother always had to have one steamer trunk packed, and when they blew the horn, she would just drag it out onto the front stoop of the house, of base housing, and then they would load us all up onto the buses and take us down to the dock. I enlisted in the Air Force in 1981, and of course we were still fighting the big bad Russians, and this was the time of Ronald Reagan and the arms buildup. We spent a tremendous amount of time practicing war with the Russians, with the Soviets. My experience with it is that I don't think we had as much to worry about as people let on. What contact you did have with the East Germans or any of the satellites, you really kind of got to understand that the equipment they were using was shaky at best. but the smaller tactical nuclear weapons have not all been accounted for. And those have the same explosive power of Hiroshima, and they can fit inside of like a student backpack. We're not really sure how many they had. They're not sure how many they had. And so there's a lot of stress worrying about nuclear material falling in the hands of terrorists now, non-state actors. So there's some really tough legacies of the Cold War that we're still dealing with today.
But because of the cultures of the different countries, we still have conflicts. And world peace is going to be very difficult to attain until you understand everybody's cultures.